how did we get here? I mean, really, how did the American political landscape become so fractured, so volatile? It's a question, a lot of us ask. And the answer, well, it isn't about one election or one person. It's a story that's been unfolding for over a decade now. A story that starts with a financial crisis, a new president, and a movement that called itself the Tea Party. So let's go back to 2009. The country is reeling from the financial crisis, and in February, from the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, a CNBC reporter, Rick Santelli, goes on this epic rant against a government plan to help homeowners with their mortgages. That moment, that was the spark. It galvanized a sentiment that was already, simmering. Anger at bailouts, anger at government spending. And so the Tea Party was born, with the slogan, "Taxed enough already." On the surface, it was all about fiscal conservatism, small government, lower taxes. But there was another, more powerful current running just beneath all that. Just a few months earlier, America had elected its first black president, Barack Obama. And for a segment of the country, this was not just a political shift, it was a cultural earthquake. It felt like an attack on their very idea of America. The country they knew, the one they felt they owned, was being taken from them. And so the Tea Party's economic anxiety, it quickly merged with this deep cultural and racial anxiety. This is where the birther movement came from, that baseless, racist conspiracy theory that Obama wasn't born in the United States. It was a way to delegitimize him, to cast him as an other, an illegitimate usurper. And who became the loudest, most prominent champion of that conspiracy? A real estate mogul and reality TV star named Donald Trump. He saw the power in that grievance. He understood that the Tea Party wasn't just about taxes, it was about identity. So you have these two streams of anger flowing together, economic insecurity and cultural displacement. And over the next few years, two more powerful tributaries would join them. First is Christian nationalism. For a growing faction of the religious right, this wasn't just about politics anymore. It was a holy war. They saw a secular, liberal America as a nation that had lost its way, a nation that needed to be reclaimed for God. This ideology, often called Christian nationalism, believes that America is fundamentally a Christian nation, and its laws should reflect biblical principles. I mean, it's the driving force behind things like Project 2025, which is this detailed blueprint for a second Trump term that aims to dismantle the modern administrative state and rebuild it along these ideological lines. And then the second tributary was the backlash to wokeism. Right? As conversations about racial justice, gender identity, systemic inequality, as all that entered the mainstream, a fierce opposition grew. This anti-woke movement framed these ideas as a dangerous ideology being pushed by out-of-touch elites, in universities, Hollywood, the media. It became an incredibly powerful weapon in the culture war, painting conservatives as the last line of defense for common sense and tradition against a world gone mad. So you get this potent cocktail: populist anger at elites, a sense that the traditional America is under attack, a belief that it's a holy crusade, and a designated enemy in wokeism. All of these currents, which started with the Tea Party, they eventually found their vessel. They coalesced around one figure who promised to fight for the forgotten American, to make America great again. But that brings us to the great paradox, the central mystery. Why do so many working class and middle class people vote for a movement whose flagship policies, like massive tax cuts for corporations and the wealthy, seem to run directly against their own economic interests? The author Thomas Frank asked this in his book, What's the Matter with Kansas? But the historian W.E.B. Du Bois gave us a framework to understand it almost a century ago. He wrote about the public and psychological wage of whiteness. He argued that poor white workers in the post-Civil War South were compensated for their low economic wages with the psychological wage of social status. They may not have had money, but they had the public deference and privilege of being white in a racial hierarchy. What we are seeing today is a modern version of that. Voters are trading tangible economic benefits for the psychological wage of cultural solidarity, the feeling that they are on the right side of the culture war, the feeling that their identity, their values, their America is being defended and validated. The economic policies might not help them pay the bills, but, and this is key, the rhetoric makes them feel seen. It makes them feel like they belong to a tribe that is fighting for them against the condescending elites who look down on them. That's the core of the MAGA movement. It's not just a political platform, it's an identity. It's a coalition built on grievance, held together by a shared sense of cultural dispossession and animated by a leader who channels that anger. Some would say for a lot of MAGA Americans, this is a fight to gain or protect a wide range of perceived social wages. These social wages can be anything from whiteness, religion, or even righteousness. So important are these social wages, they will abandon critical thinking, turn on family and friends, or even deny facts if they challenge these social wages. Proof of this can be seen in the changing of base values for MAGA, like no new wars, cancel culture, and release the files. We can now see the outrage at these issues was about something else, as these seem no longer important to hardcore MAGA. The battle for their perceived social wages is the core issue, and the battleground is interchangeable. If you found this breakdown insightful, do us a favor and subscribe and share.